Good morning. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We are a spiritually diverse, justice-seeking religious community proclaiming the power of love at the core of our living tradition. Love of neighbor, love of ourselves, and love for our planet. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, however you identify, you are welcome here. I am Sharene Watsen, and I am your celebrant for the service this morning. Our minister, Reverend Sarah Lawal, is out of the pulpit today, but joining us on Zoom. Today, I am joined by Sharley, who is part of our congregation, and she will be sharing two reflections with you. And I want to give Sue Langley a special thank you for jumping in this morning to be our musician when our other musician was sick. So thank you, Sue. And we are so glad that all of you are here with us today. Let's take a moment to welcome our online community on Zoom. If you want to turn around, wave to the cameras, and then maybe we'll see them pop up here on our screen. If you want to turn your cameras on at home, if you're comfortable to do that. Good morning. Ooh, someone's outside. Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Kimberly. Good morning, Bob. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, iPhone. Yes. All right. If you want to take a look around the room, see somebody you maybe haven't met before, wave at them, and then you can maybe make an intention to connect with them after the service today. I also want to offer a special welcome to our newcomers. We know it takes a lot of courage to check out a new community, and we're glad you have chosen us. We invite you to fill out a newcomer card located in each entry, and we'll post a link in the chat online so we can keep you up to date with what's happening in our fellowship. And I have a couple of announcements to share this morning. Today, after the service in South Wing, there will be pictures for our printed directory. So if you have not gotten an updated picture, please take the opportunity to do that. And then next Sunday, May 18th, we will have our annual congregational meeting after the worship service. Each week, we begin our worship service centering ourselves by lighting the flaming chalice, a symbol of our free faith, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. As Evan lights the chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you in our virtual community to light a chalice along with us this morning if you have one nearby, and then share in the chat where your chalice is lit. I invite you to rise and embody our spirit for our opening hymn. It's in the gray hymnal, number 16, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." And the words are also up on the screen.
We come from and live on land considered sacred by many indigenous peoples, known as Bannock, Shoshone, Paiute, and many other tribes that lived here sustainably for thousands of years, inhabiting a vast region including much of Idaho.
We recognize the long history of the land, long before colonization, and acknowledge the ancient tribes whose names have been lost in history.
With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our commitment to dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor Indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
In the challenges of these truths, may we move through the world bringing justice in every way that we can, listening to the truths spoken to us by Native American peoples, making space for them to re-inhabit this place, and giving them back the resources they need to heal their communities.
Our spiritual theme for the month of May is imagination. And today our service is centered around the Mary Oliver poem that invites us to ask the question of what we plan to do with our one wild and precious life. As we enter this time of worship, let us take a moment to breathe together. Fill your body with breath, knowing that our breath connects us to one another, to our bodies, and to our planet. Our breath offers the opportunity for stillness, to tune in to our spiritual center, to listen deeply to our heart's own longing. As most of you are likely aware, today is Mother's Day. And before we go further in the service, I want to offer a moment of centering with these words by the Reverend Linda Sue Ulrich called For All the Mothers. For all the mothers and mother figures, the grandmothers, aunts, and extended family members who mother, the soon-to-be mothers, the wish they were mothers, the never wanted to be mothers, the it's complicated mothers, the birth mothers, foster mothers, adoptive mothers, stepmothers, the used-to-be dad mothers, the more than one mom mothers, the single mothers, separated mothers, stay-at-home mothers, unhoused mothers, the grieving mothers, those who grieve their mothers, and those whose grief is complex. For all the communities that mother, and for all who depend on the Great Mother, you are held and beloved.
Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I hear your heartbeat. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya. Ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, oh. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, oh. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya. Ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, oh. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, oh. Mother, I hear in the river's song, eternal waters flowing on and on. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, oh. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, hey, ya, oh. Hey, lead of the Spirit gonna take us higher. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, 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 ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho.
Our call to worship this morning is also a call to action by Sharene Watsen. It is said that ministers are here to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I say we are all afflicted and we are all comfortable. May our time together this morning be a comfort and a confrontation. May we here find peace in times of tumult. May we here invite tumult into lives of peace. May we here find calm in times of restlessness. May we here allow restlessness to evolve into action. Let this be the place you consider what you've never considered. Let this be the place you imagine for yourself something new and unthinkable. May this hour bring dreams of new ways of being in the world. Come, let us worship together. With our promise of building beloved community, we celebrate our commitments to being a multi-generational community, a community of generosity, and a community of care and connection. In that spirit, I'd like to invite our children up front and Travis for the time for all ages.
Hi, how are you? Welcome, everybody. Oh, Carissa, haircut. Wow. Come on up. How's everybody doing? Thumbs up? Some thumbs up, thumbs medium? Okay. So today, I wanted to share, when we were talking about, they'll be sharing a poem here in just a second about nature and our precious life. And when I was thinking about those themes, I thought about one of my very favorite books in the whole world. And it's a book called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. Anybody ever read that book? Got some people out here. It's one of my very, very favorite books. It's actually a graphic novel. It would take quite a bit to play the whole thing. In fact, they did make a movie out of it, and it's also wonderful. So I edited it down. So it's going to be about 10 minutes of a selection of this book that I love. And I love it because it talks about sort of how we go through life and how we find the courage and understand the preciousness of life. And I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. So I just wanted to share it with everybody while we still had video. Over the summer, we won't have the luxury of video, so we're going to take 10 minutes and watch The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Sharley Mackesy. All right, okay.
Hello, welcome to The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Sharley Mackesy. Snow has fallen, and everywhere is still, calm, and white. In the midst of it, the boy sits alone, with his back to us. Next to him, A dark little shape pushes through the snow. It's the mole. Hello. The boy stands and bends with his hands on his knees so he can see his new little friend better. Hello. He gently lifts the mole into the air and holds him high. They gaze at each other. I am so small, said the mole. Yes, said the boy, but you make a huge difference. What do you want to be when you grow up? Asked the mole. Kind, said the boy. What do you think success is? Asked the boy. To love, said the mole. What do you think is the biggest waste of time? Asked the boy. Comparing yourself to others, said the mole. The boy is thinking hard. I wonder if there is a school of unlearning. The mole stares and looks at the boy. He's been thinking. Most of the old moles I know wish they had listened less to their fears and more to their dreams, said the mole. The two climb down from their tree and walk for a while. Until they find a quiet spot looking over a long, deep valley with hills, a wood and a winding river. There are dark, mysterious patches, craggy rocks and strange sounds the boy has never heard. What is that over there? Asked the boy. It's the wild, said the mole. Don't fear it. A while later, the boy and the mole are walking in the moonlight, and they see a figure moving frantically in circles. It's the fox. They want to run, but they realise he is trapped in something. He seems to be caught in a wire noose, and struggling to breathe and straining to be free, the fox sees the mole and strains to get him, and the mole stays just out of reach. If I wasn't caught in a snare, I'd kill you, said the fox. The mole stays very still, their faces inches apart, and the boy stands just behind him. If you stay in that snare, you'll die, said the mole. So the mole chewed through the wire with his tiny teeth and sets him free. The fox turns, glares at them, and disappears into the darkness. Afterwards, the boy and the mole sit together. The mole looks at the boy. One of our greatest freedoms, he said, is how we react to things. The next time they were in their tree, the snow was thick on the ground. They have that same sense of something moving slowly beneath them, and they peer down. The fox has appeared again. They watch as the snow falls. He seems to be walking round and round in circles, over and over, making tracks, creating a shape in the snow with his paws. The shape is a large love heart. They walk. The mole sits on the fox's back. The boy walks close to them. Being kind to yourself is one of the greatest kindnesses, said the mole. Inspired, they run through the snow. We often wait for kindness, but being kind to yourself can start now, said the mole. He feels very wise. They arrive at the edge of a wood, and there, in front of them, standing quietly, is a horse. They've never seen anything quite so big or powerful. "Hello," said the horse gently. He bends his neck down to look at the mole. Their velvety noses almost touch. "Hello," said the mole. After that, the boy, the mole, the fox and the horse become inseparable. "I think it's time to gallop," said the horse. This is the most incredible feeling of freedom they've ever had. They come to the river. The horse and the fox leap high over the water together. The boy and the mole hold tight to the horse's mane, but the boy loses his grip. An easy thing to do. He falls back into the air, his arms flailing as he crashes into the water. The horse puts his soft nose gently against the boy's cheek. "You fell," he said, "but I've got you." The boy slowly climbs onto the horse's back and holds tightly onto his mane as they swim towards the bank. "Everyone is a bit scared," said the horse, "but we are less scared together." The horse rests his nose gently on top of the shaken boy's head. Tears fall for a reason, and they are your strength, not your weakness. In time, they are moving again, talking about everything. "What is the bravest thing you've ever said?" asked the boy. "Help," said the horse. "Asking for help isn't giving up," said the horse. "It's refusing to give up." "When have you been at your strongest?" asked the boy. "When I have dared to show my weakness," said the horse. They follow the river into woods of twisting trees. "Sometimes," said the horse. "Sometimes what?" asked the boy. "Sometimes just getting up and carrying on is brave and magnificent." In the morning, the boy seems troubled, so the horse rests his soft nose on top of the boy's head. "Life is difficult," he said, "but you are loved." And later, walking through a thick wood, the boy asks, "So you know all about me?" "Yes," said the horse. "And you still love me?" "We love you all the more." "Sometimes I think you believe in me more than I do," said the boy. "You'll catch up," said the horse. The sky is an inky blue, but golden hues appear on the distant horizon. It's a new day. "We have a long way to go," sighed the boy. "Yes, but look how far we've come," said the horse. The four friends sit for a rest. "What's your best discovery?" asked the mole. "That I am enough as I am," said the boy. "Do you have any other advice?" asked the boy. "Don't measure how valuable you are by the way you are treated," said the horse. "Always remember you matter, you're important, and you're loved. and you bring to this world things that no one else can. At sunrise, the four looked to the hills in the distance. Sometimes, said the horse, all you hear about is hate, but there is more love in this world than you can possibly imagine. Just take this step. The horizon will look after itself. The end. Well, no, not the end. More, look how far we've come.
Please join in our community blessing as we sing the children to their class today.
The play Mother Wove the Morning by feminist Mormon theologian Carolyn Pearson is an anthology which tells the stories of women across thousands of years and how they understood and related to the divine feminine. It has been a powerful work in progressive Mormon circles for decades, and some have compared seeing it as important as going through temple rituals. It is incredible to see so many women's relationship with the mother. But one thing I thought was missing was the story of a transgender woman. In light of this, I decided to write my own portion, which I feel keeps in the spirit of these stories. I call it Crystal, the Transgender Woman. I wrote this days before the presidential election as a way to distract myself from the real possibility of what became its eventual outcome. I didn't know I was a woman at first. I only knew I didn't fit in with the boys. Their games, their jokes, their way of being always felt like an ill-fitting costume I was expected to wear, and one I couldn't take off. I tried to mold myself into their world, to laugh along, to play the part, but I always felt like an outsider, perpetually out of step, like I'd missed some crucial lesson. Back then, I couldn't put words to the discomfort. I couldn't name the quiet ache that followed me, the sense that something essential was missing, that I was out of place in my own life. But deep down, there were always signs, gentle, insistent truths waiting to be understood. When I finally realized what they meant, the confusion melted into clarity. I was a woman. I had always wanted to be a woman. The moment I claimed this truth, the world felt more beautiful, but it also felt much more dangerous. Embracing myself was an act of courage that painted a target on my back, because transitioning wasn't just personal, it was political. I carried my trans anxiety everywhere, because everywhere I looked, there were debates about my existence. Women with bodies like mine had their right to exist debated over in schools, town halls, courtrooms, and even presidential debates. But that's really no different than any other woman, I suppose. All the while, transgender women were asked invasive questions, experienced casual cruelty from strangers, and were even murdered for daring to exist. With all this happening around me, I couldn't help but constantly ask myself, will my name and identity be respected? Will I be safe walking home tonight? Will the state of my country one day force me to seek asylum elsewhere? Even in the midst of this fear, I found a strength I never knew I had. My transition was not just about surviving, it was about thriving. About loving myself fiercely in a world that so often refused to show any kindness at all. I found community, other women who knew my story, and others who had walked this same road. I was never truly alone. Transitioning was and continues to be a great blessing. However, this blessing took time to take hold. I started with wearing the clothes I'd always wanted to wear, then moved on to makeup, and like every girl, I had a phase where bright red lipstick and blue eyeliner seemed essential. A phase I thankfully outgrew quickly. Still, I felt discontent, so I began hormone replacement therapy. I learned to know and love my body for the first time. Each step made me feel more and more like myself. Throughout my transition, I often thought of the goddess, the one who understands change better than anyone, because she is the force of transformation, the spirit of becoming. In retrospect, I can see her comforting me when I didn't understand, and now I can hear her whispering, "Your existence is an act of defiance, but also of love. You are sacred, and your journey is holy." Every day, I live with a paradox: the joy of becoming more myself and the dread of being killed for who I am. Despite the danger, I will keep walking this path, holding my head up high, because being a woman, being myself in all my fullness, is worth more than anything I may endure.
I now invite you into the spiritual practice of generosity and gratitude. When we give, we say yes to the natural cycle of abundance in our lives, and we say yes to building beloved communities within and beyond our walls. We commit ourselves to work for justice and show compassion for all people and our earth. Today, we share those gifts with our plate partner, Idaho Abortion Rights Collective, as an expression of that commitment and living out our faith in the world. I invite the ushers to please come forward, and our offering will be gratefully received. Please join me in blessing our offering. We bless these gifts so freely given. May generosity always be our companion as we walk the holy path there's ever greater compassion and beauty. Our reading today is The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is grazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else is it that I should have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild, precious life? Please stand and join in singing hymn number 8, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. It's in the gray hymnal. We are going to be singing verses 1, 2, and 4.
As a Mormon, I have always looked to my ancestors as guiding stars, their lives kind of serving as a template. As a child, I admired their bravery in journeying to Utah, often leaving everything familiar behind. In my 20s, I grappled with learning how young some of the women were when they married and learned what patriarchy is capable of, and in that regard, the template was what not to do. Now in my 30s, my relationship with them has evolved. I see clearly the immense sacrifices they made to protect and honor their families in the face of the Edmunds-Tucker Act of 1887, which harshly targeted Mormon polygamists. These Mormons were faced with pressure from the federal government to abandon all but one wife or face jail time. The actions of two ancestors in particular have deeply resonated with me because both responded differently to persecution, yet both were driven by love and dedication to their families. William Rufus Rogers Stowell became disillusioned with the United States because he did not like the two choices presented to him. Instead of accepting the lesser of two evils, he chose freedom over persecution. In the beginning of 1889, Stowell made a trip down to Colonia Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, leaving his wives back in Utah. He found that it would be a lovely place for his families to live, and they would be safe there. After a time, he went back to Utah and told his families and community that he thought it would be a good idea to move there. They agreed, and he spent quite a bit of 1889 in Mexico building a house and a flour mill so he could sustain himself and his families financially. At the end of 1889, he returned to Utah for the last time to settle dealings in Utah and help his families relocate. After Stowell, his wives, and many of their children fled to Mexico, they were able to live in peace, free from the oppression that existed in the United States. In contrast, my other ancestor, John Henry Bott, chose not to leave Utah when the federal crackdown came. He refused to abandon his 3 wives and their children, and so he went to jail for 6 months in 1888. Unfortunately, this was just the beginning of a long trial. After his release from prison, Bott became a fugitive in his own homeland for the next 8 years. By day, he hauled stone and managed his tombstone business, determined to keep food on the tables of his 3 wives and their children, even as debts mounted and federal deputies watched every doorway. By night, he slept in cemeteries, haylofts, and mountain crevices while U.S. Marshals raided his homes at midnight, hoping to catch him under his own roof. The relentless pressure eventually forced those families to drift across the Rocky Mountains in search of calmer ground, and it would be many years before they gathered together again. Today, as a transgender woman, I find myself at a similar crossroads, facing a nation that has grown increasingly hostile toward people like me. The president has labeled transgender people anti-American, subversive, harmful, and distrustful. In Idaho, new laws have illegalized displaying pride flags on government property, or even me using the women's restroom on government property, for which I would likely serve jail time. This has been part of a worrying trend which doesn't show many signs of slowing down in the next few years. Across the country, there have been talks of creating registries for transgender people and criminalizing simply calling myself a woman. The transgender community is in a very real danger of a genocide. In light of the lives of my ancestors, I see clearly that they have presented 2 paths: endurance amid persecution and seeking peace and freedom elsewhere. If I stay in Idaho, as John Henry Bott did in Utah, I must live in a constant state of vigilance, wary of vigilantes intent on harming me, laws that criminalize my very identity, and a political climate growing ever darker. I have tried to endure the events that have transpired and ignore the steps that have been threatened. I have been in therapy, surrounded myself with friends, spent time doing activism and participating in community here. However, all of these seem to only provide me temporary relief. No matter what I do, the fear remains like tinnitus. Sometimes it's a faint hum I can push to the background, and other times it's an overwhelming screech that drowns out everything else. Over the years, the screech has gotten louder and harder to ignore. Yet, like William Rufus Rogers Stowell, I can choose freedom. Oregon represents for me what Mexico represented for him: a place to build a life where I am free from harassment and persecution, a place where I can find happiness, community, and peace. What has provided me relief is the thought of relocating to a state that actively protects people like me and where I have civil rights. Several weeks ago, my wife and I visited Portland, Oregon, where I felt things I had not felt in years: ease, safety, and the simple freedom to exist as a transgender person in public. It was a glimpse of the life I could have, a life that did not require constant vigilance or fear. Having been given this wisdom by my ancestors, my path forward is clear. Just as they made courageous choices for their families, so will I. I am choosing to live my wild and precious life. As many of you heard, I am moving to Oregon this summer to avoid governmental oppression. Like William Stowell, I am going first and will set up a home and support network, and Coralie is going to stay here in Idaho, where she will prepare to rent out or sell our house. And she will join me in a year. Matthew intends to stay here in Idaho to continue raising their children, forcing the three of us to have a long-distance relationship. I pray every day to Heavenly Mother that the hearts of my fellow Idahoans will be softened, so I may live here in peace. I pray that you will do the same. However, to my cisgender friends who have the privilege of being able to remain in Idaho, I implore you to do more than give your thoughts and prayers. I need you to fight for my family. If there is ever to come a day when I can safely return home to Idaho, it will be because you fought to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Each week, we take time to acknowledge the many joys among us and to grieve our sorrows and losses, so that we might lift that burden for each other and receive the blessing of this community. It is through our sharing with one another that we forge deep bonds of community and connection. We begin by sharing these joys. George Reno had his last day of radiation to treat his cancer, and now his neck can heal from the burn of the radiation. Kimberly Armadas is scheduled to be discharged from Creekside Rehab Friday, as she is making great progress regaining mobility after her surgery. Wanda Jennings shares that it is a sorrow to have left Boof and my friends in Boise, but it is a joy that I have successfully made the move to Texas with my 2 dogs and have moved in with my sister and her son. Pamela Murray shares the joy of completing her master's degree and graduating on Saturday. She's got her stole on. Scott Smith and Kathy Sandstrom share the joy of their son Tynan's wedding and after party in Japan. They put on quite a shindig. And now I want to share this sorrow. Nan Harms and Gwyn Reed share the sad news that their sister, Judy Dawson, was diagnosed this week with metastatic carcinoma of the bone. She has been moved into a care facility and treatment options are being explored. Nan and Gwyn appreciate the support of the congregation during this difficult time. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud into this community of love or share their name in the chat so that we may hold them with you. May the arms of this community hold all our joys and sorrows, those named and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. Let us together take a deep breath in and out, releasing the sorrows the world knows too well and finding comfort in our companionship with one another. Recognize that you are part of a whole and holy community where joy and woe are woven fine. As we enter into a time of prayer and meditation, I invite you to again breathe with me. Spirit of life and love, we know that life can be difficult, messy, complicated, joy-filled, wild, and precious. Help us to know that we are not alone on this journey and remind us how much we need each other. May we know that our interconnectedness is a miracle, and may it be a refuge for us, felt in the voice of a friend, a teaching of our ancestors, in the touch of a loved one, in memories of days spent in good company. May we remain grateful for the goodness we've witnessed and enacted in the world. And may the warmth of our lives together hold us in love as we move into a future that is uncertain. May we be reminded of what is sacred in each precious moment, even in our brokenness. And may we know ourselves here and now that we may be present for this one wild and precious life. May it be so. Amen.
I was asked to introduce this hymn a little bit beforehand. We're going to be singing Come, Come, Ye Saints. So if you're a former Mormon or a current Mormon, sing a little bit loud because we actually know this one. In 1844, tensions between Mormons and their neighbors boiled over in Nauvoo, Illinois. Joseph Smith Jr. ordered a printing press that was critical of him destroyed. In response, a newspaper called for a war of extermination against the Mormons. Smith was arrested, charged with treason and inciting a riot, and several days later, he was killed by a mob that rushed the jail that he was in. The Mormons and their neighbors continued to increase, and a war seemed inevitable. Realizing that peace was unlikely, Brigham Young, now leading the majority of the Mormons, announced in October 1845 that the Mormons would abandon Illinois and head west as soon as the grass grew in the spring of 1846. Among those in the first companies to leave was poet William Clayton. While he was camped at Locust Creek, Iowa on April 15th, 1846, Clayton received word that his wife Diantha, who remained in Nauvoo, had safely delivered their baby boy. Clayton experienced a mix of emotions. He was overjoyed that he had a son. He was anxious about dying on the trek west, and he longed to be with his families. In an effort to express these complex emotions, Clayton wrote what is today the hymn called Come, Come, Ye Saints. This hymn has come to encapsulate the complex emotions of many of the Mormons who would travel west and is likely, again, familiar to a lot of you here today. I asked if we could sing this hymn in this service because I feel it also encapsulates my feelings about having to travel west in this day and age.
And Sue will play through the whole hymn once so we can hear it before we start singing, and those of you who know it, sing loudly. Friends, you can stay standing. I invite you to place your hands over your heart for our closing blessing. May we be filled with a deep sense of gratitude for this precious moment, for the wild and vibrant tapestry of life that unfolds before us. May we embrace each experience, each challenge, and each joy with an open heart, knowing that our journey is a unique and valuable gift. May we find the courage to live fully, to make the most of our time, and to leave the world a bit brighter and more beautiful because we were here. We carry the light of our chalice in our hearts until we are together again. Blessed are we all. Go in peace.